Hey, yo, guys! How's it going? Tally here, and today what we are going to do is we're going to take a look at this guy, and some other guys, and some robots, and we're going to show you a deck profile for Mekk Invoked. Mekk Invoked, a kind of really cool sleeper deck. It does some things going first, and it does a lot of things going second. So let's not waste any time, and let's just dive in. So, of course, you're running free Alistair, okay? Alistair is your normal summon of the deck, and when it's normal summoned or flipped face up, you get an invocation to hand. Of course, invocation being the kind of linchpin of the deck, making this deck work as well as it does. And because it's so highly searchable, the deck really has like a million ways of seeing Alistair. I'm thinking at this point in time, there's like 7 ways of seeing Alistair. So again, like it's really consistent to see this card, and this card is, in my opinion, the most important card in the deck. Okay. Moving on, we have our Mekk Knight package. So we have free Purple Nightfall. Okay, Purple Nightfall's probably one of the better cards going second. Or not going second, but going first, because it's a bit more proactive. It doesn't super rely on your opponent doing things or having things. Pretty much what you can do is you can banish one Mekk Knight card to search out another Mekk Knight card. So going first, this is your most proactive card, and going second, again, it's just a real good consistency card. This deck has a lot and similarities with lots of decks that do well, and that it searches itself out, and its search cards have search cards. Okay. Now, this card's part of a combo that I want to show off with the deck, that lets you set up a couple of negates going first in what is, by and large, a going second, break your board kinda, and slow you down deck. Okay, so there's our free Purple Nightfall. And then, what Purple Nightfall can also search is, which in my opinion is the best Mekk Knight, it's 2 Blue Sky. Okay, so Blue Sky, again, is a little less proactive. During your, you can summon it once your opponent's set up, and what Blue Sky does is it can banish itself to search up to the number of cards in the same column that your opponent controls. So if I've got Blue Sky, my opponent has a card here and here, then I can summon Blue Sky in this column, banish it, and then I can search out 2 cards because they've got a card here and here, which is honestly pretty nuts, okay, considering that it's just a free +1 pretty much. If your opponent's dumb enough to set up 2 cards in the same column against you, then they should really expect for you to just plus off it when you're playing Mekk Knights. Okay, so Blue Sky we play it 2 because Purple Nightfall's able to search it a lot. Then we have Indigo Eclipse. Again, all Mekk Knights, sorry to say, by the way, forgot to mention, in case you do not know, all Mekk Knights have a summoning condition that if there's 2 or more cards in the same column, then you can special summon it to that column. So if there's a card here and a card here, I can special summon it right here. And that's important because Alistair on its own can set up both of these columns with a spell card and a card in your extra monster zone, making your Mekk Knights really live. Okay, now this card will move a Mekk Knight, so pretty much if I summon a Mekk Knight here, I can target this card, move it, and open up that column to summon another Mekk Knight in and just swarm the field. So Indigo Eclipse is just, again, it helps you swarm the field, it helps you build up a really strong board presence if you've not got a lot to work with. And then we have Yellow Star, which helps deal with the back row. So it pops back row, and again, this deck doesn't necessarily struggle too much with a lot of floodgates, because the deck can be quite kind of diverse, you know. A lot of floodgates can kind of struggle to stop it sometimes. Some floodgates will just put it right in its tracks, but some floodgates will kind of slow it down. But what this does is it just provides that in-engine out to those floodgates that really kind of screw you over. Okay, and because a lot of them banish themselves, again, you don't lock yourself down to too much. And as well, because this deck is a primarily going second deck, we have 3 of each. Ash Blossom, stop your opponent searching, and Free Effect Veiler, stop your opponent activating effects during their main phase. Okay, again, these are good because Effect Veiler will actually set you up your Mekaba because it's a light attribute, and Ash Blossom will set up your Purgatrio because it's a fire attribute. Okay, so again, these are just pretty generically good. If you want, you can replace these with like Gammas and a driver. These are pretty mandatory, like you've just got to play Ash Blossom, it's such a good hand trap. But you could replace these with Gamma and driver, could replace them with Ogre, but I find that these are just generically some of the best to run. And again, just in case I haven't reminded you all, this is a going second deck, so we run 2 Dino Wrestler Pankratops just to help break our opponent's board and force them to use negates, because ultimately, like, Pankratops isn't important in this deck, it's just run to make your opponent think this is what you've got to break their board, when in actual fact, you've got a lot more. Okay, so 2 Pankratops again, just because it's not the most important card, but it's good to see. Okay, so that's all of our monsters, so we'll move on to our spells, and here's our Magical Meltdowns. Okay, so this is the Invoke field spell, and what it does is it allows you to, when it's activated, add 1 Alistair the Invoker from your deck to your hand. The activation of your cards and effects that include the effect that fusion summons a fusion monster cannot be negated. And also, your opponent's cards and effects cannot activate when a monster is fusion summoned this way. Pretty much, this protects your fusions, right? It's so important that these fusions go through in this deck. Magical Meltdown makes sure that they do. So your opponent can't negate your fusions, and they can't activate any cards when that fusion monster is summoned, which is pretty insane. And because it's a field spell, it is searchable by Terraforming. Terraforming is at 1 now. If you could run more, then you would run more. But Terraforming being at 1 still gives the deck a good amount of consistency. This is Alistair the Invoker number 7, 6, 5, 4, and I've already seen the other 3. Okay, and what Alistair the Invoker searches is Invocation. So Invocation is a generic kind of polymerization type card. It lets you fuse monsters. But an interesting thing that it does is if you're using Alistair the Invoker, which you always will be, it allows you to use resources from your hand, field, or from your graveyard by banishing them. Okay, so generally you'll be banishing things from your graveyard, and then what this card does is you can shuffle it into your deck to add in a banished Alistair the Invoker to your hand. So again, it's got inbuilt recyclability as well, which is great. Again, this is why we run it at 2. At 3 it's kind of cloggy, but you've got a lot of ways to search it, and you've got a lot of ways to search your Alistair, and your Alistair searches this, and then this gets your Alistair recycling itself. One thing I forgot to mention as well about Alistair is you want it back in your hand, because it's also a kind of honest like hand trap. So what it does is you can discard it to give your fusion monsters 1000 extra attack points, which is why it's really good that Invocation sets up Alistair in your hand. So not only do you get a fusion monster, but you mitigate a lot of resource loss by getting Alistair back, and you also get Alistair back to protect your monsters, because Mekaba, we'll see later on, can negate things, but sometimes a monster is going to try and run over it and attack over it, but your Alistair stops that. And then again, because we are going second deck, free mind control. Okay, mind control is just really good. Helps you link climb, steals your opponent's monsters, breaks their board. You can set it, steal something, set up a Mekk Knight column if you need to. Go ahead, then yeah, like it's so good. Breaking your opponent's, and it's non-once per turn, right? So just take all of your opponent's resources, link into your link 3s and 4s with them, and just go ham. Okay, mind control's amazing. And it's also an out to those cards that can't be destroyed. Then we have Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion, there's a few cards in the extra deck that let you set up or that you use for Instant Fusion. Again, it's just to break boards and give you free resources. So we'll see the extra deck cards that Instant Fusion is used for, but they're really good. Then, again, for more free resources, we have a Sky Striker package of free Engage and 1 Hornet Drones. With Battles of Legend, Hero's Revenge coming out, Engage has tanked in price. It's not what I would call super budget, but if you can, save up for a month, you will be able to afford a playset of this, plus Hornet Drones, and again, it's free resources, right? This is a free link to a monster, and it actually helps you go into the invoked link monster. So, yeah. Also, we've noticed we have a good few spell cards in the deck, so if you do happen to use your spell cards, then use your Engage, then you actually get to draw one as well. People never forget that, okay? So I know it's mostly when it's in Sky Strikers that happens, but make sure you remember that as well if you've ever decided to use summon resources, go into a link monster, open up your main monster zones, and then just go ham. Then we have an absolute mistake. We've got free Super Poly. This deck uses Super Poly really well. There's a lot of different attributes that can be used to make your own invoked monsters, okay? And then there's also a few generic fusion monsters in the extra deck that just break boards. Okay, so Super Poly, this is a mistake, right? I'm telling you. This card cannot stay at free. It will in fact go back down to 2 or 1 or even banned again. Like, this card is just too good. I just don't know what else to say. It's amazing. Okay, and which is why we run 3 of them. Again, all about breaking them boards, and it can be used to set up as a disruption during your opponent's turn as well. Then we just go into 2 Pot of Desires. Personally, this is Tommy's build, right? Personally, I would run 3. But what I want to do is just kind of not draw desires into desires, right? It's a cowardly thing. We can all call me a coward in the comments. Honestly, like, I'm in the same boat. I always subconsciously just run 2 desires because there's never any card that I would generally cut for another desires, but you can always cut anything you want to see that extra desires as well. Desires is a free +1. No matter what anyone says, desires is an amazing free +1. So if you want to cut any card in this deck to add an extra desires, fire in. There's just not any cards right now that I would like to cut in favour of it. And then our last card, our 40th card, is World Legacy Succession. This card is searchable in the deck, and it's amazing, right? Again, so it just allows you to recur resources, it allows you to set up big OTK plays, allows you to kind of just really get the most juice out of your oranges. I don't know really what I'm going for here, but it allows you to really use your resources well. Okay, so that's the main deck. Moving on, we're going to take a look at the extra deck, and it's really important because this deck is focused around a particular set of monsters. So these are the invoked monsters, okay? We run 2 Mekk and 1 Purgatrio. So Mekk, essentially, it's an Omni-Negate provided you can discard the same type of card that's being activated. So if they activate a monster, you discard a monster. If it activates a spell, you discard a spell. If they activate a trap, you discard a trap. And it negates it and banishes it. So again, some things like their cards in the graveyard, so if you negate and destroy and they go to the graveyard, they're like, fine, I'd want it there. But that extra banish element is that little bit of salt and pepper that makes it harder for your opponent to kind of reuse and recycle the resources. Purgatrio is great as well. Essentially what it does is it gains 200 attack for each card your opponent controls, and it can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. So essentially, it's your big beat stick, right? So what you can do is summon this against a full board, right? And you'll likely be going up to 3,000, 3-1, 3-3 attack points, right? Because we know how many decks summon big boards, but provided you've broken their board a little, you'll probably have resources that make up for the fact that Purgatrio won't have super high attack points. But what you can do is you can just, anything that this can beat over, you beat over it with Purgatrio, and it leaves the rest of your board, you know, another 2 free monsters maybe, to just run over your opponent and end the game there and then. Next, we have our instant fusion targets. So we have 1,000 Eyes Restrict and 1 Millennium Eyes Restrict. Okay, so the crux of these cards is that 1,000 Eyes Restrict, you summon it into here, your extra monster zone, and it steals a monster's opponent, and it goes to your back row. That's a free Mekk Knight. Okay, so if you've got any of your Mekk Knights, especially the ones that search, then you can summon it right here and get your engine going. And then Millennium Eyes Restrict is even better in the sense that it can quick effect, right? So it can chain and it can interact with your opponent and steal it when they activate it. Okay, so it's kind of like a Called by the Grave as well. You know, if you're making plays and you've summoned Millennium Eyes, it's more of a going first card because you want it to protect your plays. But if they're trying to take your if they're trying to stop your plays, you know, in Ash Blossom or something like that, then you can just Millennium Eyes, scoop it up, and then negate it and continue on with your plays. So yeah, this is your going first option, this is your going second option, this is also your other going second option. Really good cards. And then for some of our super poly targets, we have Starving Venom Fusion Dragon and Mud Dragon of the Swamp. This is your best one right now, because first of all, I've just got such a thing for like the Arc V dragons. I love them. But Starving Venom Fusion Dragon is just 2 darks, okay? Just 2 dark monsters on the field. And then this is 2 monsters with the same attribute but different types, which does happen, okay? But it's not super common. But Starving Venom is just great because it can copy an effect, it gains attack points, and if your opponent manages to deal with it, then it blows up their field, right? Starving Venom's amazing. Honestly, I'm looking to get I'm collecting all these, and there's 2 OCG printings of this card that I don't have, and then I've got all the printings of Starving Venom. Okay, now for our links, we have Salamangreat Almirage, which, again, this card makes Alistair potentially a 1-card OTK, right? You summon Alistair, link Alistair, get Invocation, link Alistair into Almirage, Invocation, Alistair plus Almirage into Purgatrio, and then you attack. And then you use Alistair to boost your Purgatrio's attack points. Another free card we have is Sky Striker Ace Kagari. Again, you just use this to grab back your Hornet drones, and then from there, you've got Link 2 just to open up zones or to go into different sorts of plays. Speaking of our Link 2s, we've got 2 free Link 2s in the deck, 4 Link 2s in the deck, sorry. This is Tommy's deck, I've not actually bothered to look at it much. We have my favourite Link 2, Cyframe Lord Lambda, Alistair the Invoker of Madness, Mekk Morningstar, and Underclock Taker. So, I would say this card can be used because all of your Mekk Knights are psychic. You can side in your Gammas and actually search them turn 1 to set up negates. Underclock Taker just helps you push for game. Alistair the Invoker of Madness is just kind of to open up zones because Tommy doesn't run the Book of Moon. Then, again, it doesn't really do anything for the deck other than open up zones. And Mekk Knight of the Morningstar is just to help you get your World Legacy Succession, and it also helps you kind of maybe stall if you have to, because if your opponent summons something and it's in a different column, then this card can't be destroyed and it takes no battle damage from any card that's not in the same column as it. So if you summon it to your extra monster zone, they have to summon it here or on the other side. Okay? They have to summon it on their column with the extra monster zone. If they don't, then you can't really do much. Or in fact, have I got it the wrong way around? Yeah, so it provides protection to all your Mekk Knights. If they battle something that's in a different column, they are protected. Okay, so that, quite a useful card at times. But we have more useful cards. So we have Nightmare Unicorn. Again, you can start to steal your opponent's resources, link climb into Unicorn, and just bounce something, right? Really tear apart your opponent's board, break it down bit by bit. And then lastly we have Borrow Sword. We know what Borrow Sword does. It OTKs, it pushes for big damage. Borrow Sword plus pretty much anything in the deck is game. So once you've got Borrow Sword, your opponent should have little to no resources left to actually stop you. So that is the main and extra deck. Side deck, you just want your generic cards, your red reboots to help you OTK, your twin twisters to help you break your boards, gammas because they're searchable, and then kind of the rest is up to you. So, guys, as always, excuse me, if you liked it, give it a like. If you loved it, give it a share and hit, tell everyone you know about Team Tally today. If you have not hit that subscribe button yet, do yourself a favour, hit that subscribe button, okay? Just do yourself a favour. Also, as always, guys, you have been fantastic. I've been Tally. I'll catch you all later. Bye.